He got you, but it's gonna be okay.
I'm feeling.
Good. I mean, we got a little drama with the Tony situation, and but it really feels like we are still the underdog, and that is a good thing. We are playing like when we're the underdog. We did in both of the games leading up to the Super Bowl, and ultimately, I have my faith in our defense and the unbelievably effective Andy Reid under pressure.
Yeah, what is the Tony situation?
He was supposedly hurt, and then he said he wasn't hurt. He kind of lashed out on social media, and so now there's a little drama over there about that. And McKinnon is questionable. Whether first they said he might be back, and now they're saying he won't. But all in all, we are pretty healthy and ready.
She's following every detail of this.
Really, Larry's in the weeds.
She doesn't mention Taylor.
Yeah. I'm talking about Taylor and Kelsey and everything. I saw this thing. I just gotta say it, Bill. I was watching yesterday. PJ keeps cable news on 24 hours a day, it seems.
And background noise. I also like to see.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
And
Okay,
the guy's explaining why he
get right to it.
voted for Donald Trump after Super Bowl 2016 and 2020.
Yes. This was fascinating. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Go on.
For what
You have the story. That was so good.
all day.
Go ahead.
So anyway, the guy talks about Taylor Swift
Mm-hmm.
and Kelsey. Well,
Yeah.
we lost Willie there.
Yeah.
I would know I lost him.
No, I was looking at prop bets about Taylor Swift on DraftKings.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So
What did he say, Joe?
this guy tells a reporter
Yes, swear to God, he
in
did.
South Carolina
Yes.
that after voting for Trump in 16, and after voting for Trump in 20, and after wanting to vote for Trump in 2024, the South Carolina primary, he just can't do it because during the Super Bowl week, Donald Trump has been critical of Taylor Swift, and he says, and I quote,
Yes.
and I quote, my daughter likes Taylor Swift, and I'm just sitting there thinking, what am I going to say to my daughter when she comes home?
Say it.
And I'm thinking, okay, wait, Taylor Swift take, what about the Access Hollywood tape? What am I going to say to my daughter when she comes home? What about how horribly he treats Swift? How about the sexual abuse verdict? How about the judge saying he's a rape? No, none of those things make the guy.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Do it.
How could I tell my daughter that I voted for a guy that the judge said was a rapist?
Hi Tracy, hey Shirley, hey Jewel,
A jury of his peers.
Andre, sending you all so much love today. Everybody, please like and share.
Because he kept attacking the one that the judge said.
Like and share, like and share, like
But
and
no, that
share.
wasn't it. It was that Donald Trump was mean to take that. It's a little much.
I gotta start watching these shows you guys watch. That sounds exciting. Yeah,
It's cable news.
Cable news.
You're,
No,
you're,
like
you know, it's as you would say when your hands were sucking in Paul Mahler.
All right, everybody. Andre, good morning. Hey, darling.
well, I'm eating it, but I'm not.
Tracy, good morning. Bless your heart. And let me see Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. Bless your heart. Jewel from New York. Bless your heart. My other home. Angela Bird, Cecilia Bolden. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We got a lot to talk about today. The immigration bill. What is in it? Right? What is in it? I'm going to be examining that more closely tomorrow. We're going to take a look at this parent who was blamed for her son's murderous acts. I think that's something we need to examine. I'm excited about that. There's a lot going on, so we're going to be talking about that. Angela Burns, how you doing? And sending you all so much love. Everybody, like and share, like and share. We are coming up. Hey, AM950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I am Santita Jackson. It is a joy to be with you today on the Santita Jackson Show. Please go to AM950Radio.com and stream live. AM950Radio.com and stream live, and meet the morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. It's wonderful to be with you today. It's always great. We're going to be talking about the latest in the Fonnie Willis case as we talk with C.K. Hoffler in her, legal Q&A segment. Are the allegations, I mean, now that we know that she has had a personal relationship with one of 3 prosecutors that she selected, is that disqualifying? I want you to let me know. What do you think? Is that disqualifying? Should she be kicked off the case? Many ethicists, legal ethicists, and lawyers say no. Some say yes. So you tell me what your thoughts are. 773. No. You got to reach me here now. Go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, or Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook. But meet me on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Hey, Barbara Bacon there in Oak Park. Regina out there in San Francisco. Girl, thank you for getting up so early with us. We got a lot to talk about today. And immigration. What is going on with that? What's in the bill? I mean, what's in the bill? You tell me. And I got your message, David Gibbs. Chappelle, we're going to get Dr. Gibbs up at 7 o'clock our time, and I'm very excited about that. So let's get to it. Let's get to some of these headlines so we can get to the rest of the show, get some good news in, and keep this conversation moving. Donald Trump is not immune from January 6th prosecution, and appeals court ruled, according to this Washington Post report. He can be put on trial for trying to stay in power after losing the 2020 election. Yesterday's ruling said it rejected his claim of presidential immunity. It's a blow to former President Trump and his quest to escape conviction. And it could restrain him if he returns to the White House. We'll talk about that another day. Want to know how that's going to work. Nikki Haley suffered an embarrassing defeat, according to this headline, in Nevada's Republican primary. She lost to an option to vote for none of the candidates listed. Former President Trump skipped yesterday's non-binding contest for tomorrow's caucuses. Now, that's where you're going to get the 26 delegates in the state. In the Democratic primary, Biden won decisively. It was another step toward renomination, despite concerns about his age, according to this report, and how he would fare against Trump in November. The House failed to impeach the Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. A measure to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas was unexpectedly rejected yesterday as 3 Republicans voted with Democrats. But really the story is Texas Congressman Al Green, who has been in the hospital. No speaker takes a vote to the floor without knowing the whip. It is the whip's responsibility to find out exactly where everybody is. So you have a whip for the Democrats, you have a whip for the Republicans. Well, they thought that because Congressman Green missed a prior vote because he's in the hospital, they said, okay, well, he's not going to be able to make this. They wheeled him in without his shoes on, and he voted on that. That is why that vote went down. Ouch. That's the dirty little secret. The school shooter's mother was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Jennifer Crumbley, 45, was convicted yesterday. The Crumbleys bought their teenage son a gun days before he killed 4 students. And remember, they dismissed the complaints from the school about their son's disturbing behavior. Well, she has been convicted, and she will be serving time. She's the first parent of a mass shooter to face such serious charges related to their child's crime. What do you think about that? I want you to let me know. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. We're going to talk about this tomorrow because I cannot wait to hear what you have got to say about that. Reach out to me on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. It's going to be a beautiful day in Minneapolis-St. Paul. 52 degrees and cloudy, everybody. Wow. But I mean, it's so warm. Can you believe it's the beginning of February and it feels like the beginning of spring? Everybody like and share, and please go to YouTube and like and subscribe on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. Hey, Joyce Anderson, how you doing? How you doing? The Timberwolves, 123. Well, they fell to the Bulls, 129 to 123. And in the NHL, the Wild will be playing Chicago tonight. Wow, Minnesota and Chicago keep mixing it up. I love it. But I can tell you, I'm really, really, really excited about being with you today. I want you to call me at 7. Don't call me. Wow, I have to get into a new normal. In fact, we're going to be getting a new number in the next couple of weeks. But what I want you to do is reach out to me on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and let me know what you think about the Fonnie Willis case. Now that you know that she's had a personal relationship with one of the 3 persons she hired, and it has been stated that the relationship with Nathan Wade did not begin until after they started working together. They're human. Things happen all the time. Is this disqualifying? You let me know what you think. And what about the migration bill, this bipartisan bill that Mitch McConnell has said is dead on arrival in the Senate? What do you make of that? What do you make of this border crisis? Not from the North, even though the most visa overstays for the United States are from Canada, from Canadians. Okay, but the problem is from the South, where we are also trying to take a lot of their resources in Venezuela, their oil, and on and on and on and on. It's something to think about, everybody. So let us get up Pastor Vicki Johnson so that we can get some good news from her. Let me reach out to her. Call me. No, don't call me, everybody. Just pardon me as I'm trying to figure all of this out, because I sure am trying to figure it out. Trying to figure it out. No. Actually, I'm working it out. So how about that? But I'm going to pull Pastor Vicki Johnson up so that we can have, so that we can get some good news. Pastor Vicki Johnson, it's wonderful hearing your voice today. Pastor Vicki Johnson, before you get things started, pastor of not one but 2 churches. I want you to let us know how we can worship with you on Sunday. And then you can give us the good news.
Okay. Well, you can worship with me each Sunday at 119 Lutheran Church at 9 o'clock a.m. at 13100 South Minneapolis-St in Chicago, and at St. Thomas Lutheran Church at 80th and Jeffrey Boulevard, Chicago, Illinois at 11:30 a.m. Both churches can be worshiped in person or on Facebook.
I love it. Oh boy, what a time. What is the good news? Pastor Vicki Johnson. I can report to you, I still have joy. I just want you to know that.
Amen. Well, good morning, Santita, and good morning to all of your morning stars and friends. There is good news. What a wonderful experience it was to grow up in the Black church. It was there that we were given opportunities to become orators, saying our little speeches, and welcome addresses. You know the one. We welcome you once. We welcome you twice. We welcome you 3 times in the name of Jesus Christ. Or Easter speeches like, Alleluia, Alleluia, Christ rose from the grave. Whatever we said or sang, whatever we did, there was always a mother of the church who would give us some closing remarks. Each program, she would encourage us as if we were perfect, whether we were perfect or if we fumbled our one line. She would encourage us. And she would say something like, keep on keeping on. I really didn't understand that statement as a little girl, It didn't make sense to me. Why would she say, keep on keeping on? But I get it now. Keep on keeping on when you meet adversities in life. Keep on keeping on when you're up as well as when you're down. Keep on keeping on whether you do good or bad. Keep on keeping on because it is through that perseverance that you will make it to your goal. And so I thank God today for those mothers of the church that gave us those words, so simple, but yet ring out in my soul today. Whenever I feel like I can't make it, then I just keep on keeping on. When I do great things, I'm encouraged to keep on keeping on. And so this Santita Jackson show, and friends, we say to you, in the spirit of the mothers of the church, to just keep on keeping on. And if all of us will do this, and I'm sure that we will, then to me, that's good news.
Amen, 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 amen. I have to tell you, I've noticed an uptick on in my online viewership and so forth and so on since I was let go by WCPT. I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday, and he said, people want to know if, hold on one moment, if you can take a hit and either get up off the floor or keep on moving. And I said, and that really is it. People want to see how you deal with adverse circumstances. The thing is, you do have to keep on going. My grandma Helen, who you knew, my father's mother, said, if you can't take it, you can't make it.
That's it. That's another thing that the mothers used to say.
Oh, boy. I mean, all the time. And so, think about that, everybody. In life, you're going to get some dings, and they come out of nowhere. I was on my way down to City Hall. I was trying to put on my boots. I get a call. Someone's downstairs who I do not expect. I let them upstairs. Not only do I let them upstairs, they have someone with them. What? Oh. And then, first thing I said was, have I been fired? Yeah. And the thing is, and then you take things with equanimity. You don't go too high. You don't go too low. You just keep on. Keeping on. And I thank God for all of those mothers. And now that's who we are. So we have to, and so we have to impart that message to people to keep on keeping on. And remember, you can't be big and little at the same time. I've had outreach from the station. We don't want to fight. I'm like, I'm not trying to fight with you. I said, everything I've said about you has been kind because I've appreciated the opportunity. I don't do that. I was not raised to be small. Now we've had a disagreement and we're going to work it out and it's going to be done. That's it.
Amen.
And I've moved on because I don't want to be where God doesn't need me to be. I need to go on to see what the end is going to be. And the end is something that God has authored. And that's it.
Amen.
Pastor Vicki Johnson, I love you. Again, how can we worship with you on Sunday?
You can worship with me at Lebanon Lutheran Church at 13100 South Manistee, Chicago, Illinois at 9 o'clock a.m. and at St. Thomas Lutheran Church, 80th and Jeffrey Boulevard in Chicago at 11:30 a.m. Both services can be viewed on Facebook, or you can worship with us live and in person.
Love you, Pastor Vicki Johnson. Love you, love you, love you, love you. Got to catch you one of these.
I love you too. I love you.
I know you do. Got to catch you one of these Sundays because we are rebuilding at Rainbow Push, and we meet every Sunday at 4 p.m. at 930 East 50th Street. And we're forming different committees for people interested in education and in health and in social action and in social media and blah, blah, blah. Because Push, after all, has always been a gathering of people who are activists. in their spaces. And we're going to begin to make and invite people in from all over the country because the push is on. There is work for us to do, as James Cleveland wrote about
That's
our
right.
organization more than 50 years ago.
That's right. The job is up to you. We can make it a better place to live in right now.
Can we count on you?
On you. And yes, you know you can count on me.
Always. I love you. I love you. I love you. Dr. Shanina Knight, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and thank you so much for the words of motivation, the words of encouragement, and I just want to say, resilience is a real thing, and I just appreciated everything that you were to me when I was going through my patches. So I just want to say I'm grateful.
Oh, bless your heart. Because in life we're going to go through them, and that impacts your health too. And I don't think that we realize or recognize, acknowledge just how our emotional state impacts our physical state. That's why you really, the Bible tells you are transformed by the renewing of your mind, and your mind needs to be renewed. As you think, so are you. Get your mind together and keep it going, and know that the sun is shining always somewhere. Know that weeping endures for a night, and joy does come in the morning, and the morning always comes. As does the night, as does the morning, as does the night, as does the morning. It just keeps on going. So I want you to turn your volume up as high as you can, Dr. Knight, and I want you to give us the word on health today, because everybody's waiting on you.
God bless. So I honestly just want to remind people that in the current climate that we're in, I know we all have goals, meaning that we're trying to crush goals for 2024. We're getting off to a fast start. We just started out the month of February. So there's a lot of, let's say, urgency that we have in regards to how we're moving, which sometimes means that the meals that we plan, we're not consuming them by sitting down at a table. We're not being mindful of our activities, and therefore, at sometimes we may put in ourselves more at risk than not. And so I know I talk to you all the time about people eating in the car. I just need to remind people, your car, similar to your home and your sanctuary, in the same way that you give your home time and attention by making sure that it is disinfected and it is clean. Remember, just because your car might look clean does not necessarily mean that it is free from contaminants and it is free from germs. So this is a reminder that if you are one of those steering wheel eaters, okay, so if you always have, let's say, your lunch table at the steering wheel, if you have your breakfast table at the steering wheel, if you have your lunch table at the steering wheel, the steering wheel can harbor a lot of germs that can therefore make you sick. And what you don't recognize is that you're carrying some of those germs directly in your car. Because when you are out, let's say, doing business and you get back in your car, if you're putting your hands before you get back in your car, you just introduce all of the germs from being in that public space directly into your haven of your car. So this is a reminder to make sure that you are carrying hand sanitizer or using hand sanitizer products or washing your hands before you get in your car. It is also mindfully making sure that you are even wiping down your handle. It is also understanding that yes, family services are being used and they're in your car. Remember, they touched a lot of steering wheels before they touched your steering wheel, and I guarantee you they're not making it in. But you didn't make your car. The next time you go to eat, you're now sharing your germs and you're putting them right directly into your mouth. So I just want to remind you that when you think about what are you doing to drive, meaning your push start button, meaning your steering wheel, meaning the dust in your mirror, everything that you're touching with your hands, ask yourself, are my hands clean? And what is it that I need to do to make sure that I am disinfecting the areas that are around me? If I am a car eater, or absolutely just in general, because we touch our hands, we touch our face up to 2,000 pounds per day.
Don't even think about that. You don't even think about it. I mean, because that's what drive-through is about, right? You jump into the car and, and everybody in the car, I'm grabbing this burger, I'm grabbing these fries, I'm grabbing this, I'm grabbing that. And you don't even think about all of the germs. I told you I went to dinner brunch last Sunday, and I had washed my hands before I got in the car, and I washed my hands when I got to the restaurant. I was shocked at the dirt that came off my hands. I said, where did this come from? I was just, I mean, I just washed my hands. Just washed my hands. Let me ask you this. What's better when you're out? Is it better to go wash your hands with soap, soap in a dish, soap that's dispensed, or should you use hand sanitizer? What's most sanitary, particularly when you're out?
So we always want the rule of thumb to wash our hands whenever we can. However, there are some situations where even in a restroom, it might not be ideal. Meaning, I have been in restrooms where there's only a hand dryer there, and there are no single-use paper towels for you to clean your hands.
Mm.
So in that instance, sometimes it might be actually best for you to use the hand sanitizer because you can possibly pick up something from the dryer or from the bathroom just in itself. So some of these places don't have doors, that automatically open. So if you got to go in there and wash your hands, can't touch that door while it's with it, because they don't have any paper towels, you're probably more at risk of getting germs than using hand sanitizer in that instance. So it's just really kind of being mindful of what are the resources that are around you to use. I've had situations where I've had that happen, and even after I made it out of that phase, use hand sanitizer because I was lucky that they didn't have single-use towels for me to dry my hands.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And if you are okay, you say if you're able to have a guest bathroom, but even if you can't have a powder room in your home, if someone from outside of your home needs to use your restroom, should you start having soap that's dispensed, or should you still leave the bar of soap in there for people to use?
So you should have soap that's dispensed. Soap that's dispensed is more safe because the germs that are on people's hands will end up on that bar of soap. Like bar of soap is not the safest thing to be able to use, especially when you're talking about yes. And I think I might have told you this too, Santita, but even for, let's say, this is more so hospital-based, but a group in Africa that focus on infection prevention and control, they literally, what they do is they have to heat bake their soap for 2 weeks to make it sanitary and be able to reuse. And so saying for that to say that, yes, it is important that you do that. You're not going to have the same germs in a home setting as what you would in a hospital, but it is still essential to make sure that you are cleaning the soap.
So soap, a bar of soap really should just be used by you, right?
It should be just used by you, and that's why you see a lot of people moving over to soap dispensers and things that are single use for that reason, is that it can have contaminants. That is correct.
Okay. Soap should be used by you, your bar of soap. That's the personal bar, everybody. Wow. Okay. No one tells us these things. No one but the infection preventionist. PhD, registered nurse, Dr. Shanina Knight, and go to Hey Dr. Nina, HEYDRNINA, HEYDRNINA. Let's follow her, because you're going to get a lot of practical advice, a lot of things you don't even think about. But even in your home, your bar of soap should be used. Is what Michelle Torres said. This is big news to me. Okay, that's why I kept on asking the question, Michelle, because I said, well, wait a minute. You keep going down this rabbit hole. You're like, wait. What about this? What about that? What about that? What about this? And so it is our singular privilege to have this brilliant research scientist with us every day. And we thank you. Yes.
And just really quick, and this is just going to Michelle and just articulate the background. I just need somebody to put it in perspective like this.
Okay, are you on an earpiece?
I am not.
Oh, okay. I don't want any distortion. What were you saying?
So I know we talk about, let's say, topics that they in poverty. So that is, of course, used as what it is that they have. to be able to do their best. So there's that topic. But then the question is that people do have a choice to use certain items, and no, the bar soap would not be recommended unless it is a single person use. Think about somebody that washes their body with a bar of soap and potentially they have an abscess or a boil, or they have MRSA, right? Like if things happen because things come off on the skin, well, that can be transmitted to a bar of soap, and the next person that goes to use that bar of soap, you're being transmitted those germs to their skin. And so we have to understand that the bars of soap is not necessarily slated to kill some of that bacteria. So you lower the risk of transmission between using that bar by having your own bar of soap opposed to you sharing the same one. And I'm being honest, we be seeing body hair be embedded in some bars of soap because people use them differently.
Okay. All right. Okay. But keep your hand sanitizer with you. You emphasize that.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right, everybody. Keep that hand sanitizer with you, and don't use that bar of soap unless it belongs to you, because somebody else has transferred their cooties onto that soap. I'm just kidding. You know what I mean, everybody. But it's true.
Clean your car. Clean the inside of the car just like you clean the outside of the car. Make sure you're disinfecting it.
Wow, no one thinks about that. Just keep getting in that car. So everybody, Dr. Knight, you're going to stick around with us. We're talking about immigration, and we want to know what people feel about it. Chapeau, let me know if you're going to be able to pull anybody up, but I want to talk with attorney Daryl Jones.
I'm sorry, Santita, you have attorney tonight. You have attorney Crumbley as well as attorney Daryl Jones.
Well, let's get right to it. What is in this bipartisan bill that McConnell says is dead on arrival? I want you to call me at 773-791. No. Go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. One thing we do know is that it will not allow 5,000 migrants illegal crossings per day. That is not what it will do. Former President Donald Trump, according to this NBC report, House Speaker Mike Johnson and other right-wing Republicans say they oppose this bipartisan immigration deal because it would allow 5,000 migrants to illegally cross the border every day. Johnson, Republican from Louisiana, and the Speaker of the House said, quote, "It is illegal to cross our border, but apparently we're concocting some sort of deal to allow the president to shut down the border after 5,000 people break the law." Why is it 5,000? If you add that up, that'd be 1 million more illegals into our country every year before we take remedial measures. It's madness, he said. And of course, Trump made a similar claim. He said it's a terrible bill. 5,000 a day, that's a lot. But that's not it. And migrants would not be just released into the United States. And the problem is much bigger than this surge we're seeing at the border. And it's always very interesting to me that when it's brown and black people, it's a crisis. But when it's white people, which is where the border crisis really is, in Canada, first of all, we make it legal. We don't chase them. And it's not a crisis. It's just the way that it is. So let's talk about that. What is going on what is in this bill? Attorney Daryl Jones, Attorney Daryl Connolly. And let's start with you, Attorney Sanat, because this is your bailiwick. What's in this bill, this bipartisan bill that Republicans and Democrats have been literally crafting for months?
Good morning, Santita. Good morning, panelists. Thank you for having me, and good morning, all the listeners. Basically, this is one of an immigration reform that has not occurred in many years. The proposal is basically a deal that they would use in order to tighten asylum rules and also to allow for partial border shutdowns. But they would also increase enforcement, and they would also open some new avenues for legal migration. Now, the problem with the bill is that it's also attached to a measure that would offer billions of taxpayer dollars to aid in Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. So many people are very frustrated with the fact that instead of just focusing on immigration reform, which is totally necessary and what needs to be done, and of course to add a good provision like legal migration, the bad part is people obviously don't want to continue supporting wars in other countries, and particularly people are not in support of, many people I should say, are not in support of Israel in their war against quote unquote Hamas and how it's been kind of used in order to commit genocide against the Palestinians. So that is really the crux of the issue. How is it that you have something good attached to something so bad?
So the
And
bill,
of course, obviously, as a Haitian, I would prefer billions of dollars going to Haiti in order to repair and rebuild Haiti from the billions of dollars that have been stolen. I think that would be a better use of taxpayer dollars.
oh, there's no
But-
question. I know $3.8 billion what it would do in Appalachia and in urban America. And I mean, at some point, America, we can't do all of this, Attorney Sanat. Well, I mean, we can't afford it. First thing I got to do is build my own bridges. What I need to stop doing in Haiti is meddling, because Haiti's a very rich country. You just have people raping it. It's
That's true. That's true.
it's awful.
But in order for the billions of dollars to be used for people here in the United States, it's up to the people that vote in order to get legislators that are going to focus on homelessness issues. There's no reason why someone can go on Amazon, buy a tiny house for $15,000, and we can't use the same taxpayer dollars in order to build tiny homes with people who need shelter. Why is it that we don't have enough mental health institutions in order to cater to the needs of those who are suffering illness that don't have the proper care because there's no family or social services available for them? These are all things that are definitely American issues that we should be addressing. And instead of spending billions of dollars to wars in Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, totally agree. We should do it here. But the problem is, people are not elected to the legislature in order to make those decisions. They keep electing people that have the wrong mind.
But but they also keep, behind the legislators are the corporations that lobby them, who have an interest, like they did in slavery, in getting labor that they don't need to pay much for at all, and countries that they destabilize so that they can rape and raid their resources. Because, if we want to dig down, and we got to look at the real issue here, Attorney Sanat. Stay right there. Attorney Aaron Connolly, what do you make of this bipartisan bill that McConnell said is dead on arrival when it gets to the Senate?
Well, good morning, Santita. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Minneapolis.
Yes.
This immigration bill is problematic on a few fronts. We're seeing obvious, insightful language from former President Trump, and his call to senators is widely reported in many media outlets. We see McConnell walking back after, he was essentially sanctioning this negotiation that's taken quite a long time. The unfortunate part of this is the restrictions that it places on immigration as a political response, and the troubling piece that it is tied to this foreign aid military funding, which is a large part, if you look at how it's broken down in the bill, is really just a buyback for American weapons manufacturers. A large part of many of these bills are to purchase weapons from us for these countries. Some of it goes to training Ukrainian soldiers. Some of it goes to missile defense. There's a very small portion of these funds that go to humanitarian aid. But these are still billions and billions and billions of dollars. $60 billion for Ukraine, but we cannot provide accessible health care here in the United States. People are exhausted at seeing these numbers. So there's a political problem on two fronts here, right? The issue is, if we look back to 4 years ago and where President Biden stood on immigration, folks were hopeful that there may be some progress in a more progressive approach, a more realistic approach to the folks that already are in this country, doing hard work, paying taxes with an ITIN number, right, and contributing to the United States. There's none of those protections, but Mexico is demanding some of those considerations. What this does is it limits the amount of folks
who are able to enter. It creates a precedent where, for asylum seekers, anyone who would come to the border would be almost immediately adjudicated by an officer as opposed to an immigration judge. I think every attorney listening to this understands what that means. How will these officers be trained? Will they have the legal competence to understand the complexities of what qualifies for asylum? The obvious criticism is that people who should qualify will not be admitted under this new procedure. The quote-unquote good news that they're trying to push is that there will be some expansions. I think it's $250,000 additional visas for family members and workers over the next 5 years. That is a de minimis amount when you really consider what is necessary from a worker program to have an impact, right? There's a lot of concerns about this bill. We see progressives pushing back that, if this kind of undermines what we have guaranteed as a baseline in the United States to provide for asylum seekers. And I think that's the biggest concern from the progressive side. The politics of this are very tricky, right? The reality is people are concerned about the border. Rupert Murdoch has done an excellent job whipping up that Republican and center base. We see the crisis exacerbated in our major cities like New York and Los Angeles and Chicago, where we're very aware of Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis' efforts to undermine some of those helpful sanctuary policies that are in fact humane and support folks who are looking to better their lives and create a safe environment for their families. But the way that Democrats have adjusted their policy and trajectory on immigration is also concerning. And now we see Donald Trump pulling the strings behind the scenes and pushing McConnell to abandon this very conservative, really, when you read the details of this bill. So the fact that it's DOA now in the Senate, is a loss for Biden if they can't get it done, but it also points to the ineptitude of the Republican leadership, right? So it'll be interesting to see who kind of wins the battle here in the political and media frame, because we saw another embarrassing day for the House of Representatives yesterday, where they went through this long process trying to impeach our Homeland Security chief and did not have the votes to do so. So we see this chaos in the halls of Congress on two levels, and I think the court of public opinion will have to weigh in as we move into this election. But the politics are ugly. This is a serious issue. Lives are at stake, and we shouldn't be playing checkers with our immigration policy like this.
Before I go to you, Attorney Jones, very quickly, Attorney Sanat, did you say that this is a good bill? I mean, in and of itself, standing alone, away from Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and all of that.
There are good parts of the bill. So one of the good parts of the bill is the increase. So, as you know, I used to be an immigration prosecutor, and I used to do immigration enforcement for the Department of Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I thought was controversial was the extremely low standard it was in order for asylum seekers to enter the United States and then await processing. At the time that I was working there, it only took about 150 days for their asylum case to be pending in order for them to then get work authorization and, of course, continue with their case. In this bill, what I think is positive, that they're going to kind of increase the standard of screening, the initial screening part, in order to make it a little bit tougher for them to get in just to await. They also had changed it a while ago, but instead of 150 days, it's now 365 days before you can even apply for a work authorization. So what they're trying to do is screen out the fake cases. And I think increasing the standard is a good thing, because there's so many people that repeat. There's so many coyotes that tell the same story and repeat the same story. There are people that look in the newspaper, find stories, and recreate their stories to match their own lives. And so those are asylum is supposed to be a protection for those who have left their native country in order to seek refuge because they cannot remain in their country any longer. And it's being used for two reasons. One, in order to get work authorization, in order to be here, quite frankly, under the guise as an asylee, but they're really migrants. And then two, it gives them a pathway to citizenship because so many people, even though they have family and they have other legal ways to enter the United States, those legal ways are long waiting lines and they don't want to wait. So asylum has just been used by basically migrant workers and those seeking to basically jump the line. So we need to really increase the standard. And the other thing that I think is important about the immigration bill is the opportunity for legal migration to occur. Now, as the attorney has just mentioned, it's not going to be a panacea for everyone. But we do need to have different standards for all these people that want to work. We are coming to a point in the American economy where a lot of Americans are not learning trades, and the trades are getting lost. And so some of these countries offer people that have those trade skills. So we're going to need those trade skills in order to maintain what it is that we're doing here until we can change our education system in order to encourage others to bring those types of skills. So when you lower the standard for unskilled or skilled tradesmen, you give an opportunity for more visas to be available for migrant workers. And that's one of the two things that are good.
Let me say hello to Michael Ann, one of the original Morning Stars. You said you found us. Yes, I'm glad that you did. Renee Criswell, Arnold Shortlegger, how you doing? Everybody, please like and share, and go to the Santita Jackson Show. Hey, MC Vixen V, sending you so much love. Linear Bob from San Jose, and our S. Carlson. Everybody, please like and subscribe on the Santita Jackson Show, and like and share on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Not Santita Jackson, Santita Jackson and Friends. And of course, you can stream us at AM950Radio.com. And of course, listen to AM950 Radio up in Minneapolis-St. Paul. Attorney Darrell Jones, what is your take on this? I mean, because, the story that is really not being told here, Attorney Jones, is that, like when they were trying to impeach Mayorkas, it just seems like there's a lot of chaos around here. Congressman Al Green from Texas has been in the hospital. He's ill. He's been ill. And he missed the first vote. So Speaker Johnson and the Republican whip, thought that he was going to be out. Don't you know, when the Mayorkas bill came up, the impeachment maneuver came up, they wheeled him in without shoes from the hospital, and he was able to cast his vote. There's just a lot of chaos around this. And it's very clear we've got a crisis at the border. You see it in our cities. We have a mess. And the untold story, Attorney Darrell Jones, is all the meddling we do in people's countries that's forcing people to run away. I mean, it's a mess.
You're right on the mark there, Cynthia. It is a real mess. And I've always been impressed with Congressman Al Green, his determination to certainly uphold and live up to his requirements and his commitment to vote. So, wheeling them in from the hospital with no shoes is really just one of those things where you just see his level of commitment to trying to do what is right for the country. The whole border fiasco is really what it is from my determination. And it's one of those things where people, and I get, added some credit. I really do. Because, what Texas was experiencing on its border is now being really felt by some of the other communities. They have a real appreciation for what it means to have all of these undocumented folks that were coming in, and the drain that it has on the taxpayer dollars. So, Chicago got a feel for it, New York has a feel for it, Denver has a feel for it. All of these major areas where they're buzzing, if you will, these migrants are having an impact in these communities to make it real for the people that are there. Now, the bill that has been introduced, let's start by saying what we need is some type of comprehensive reform for immigration. That's what's needed. This bill doesn't do it. It's not intended to do it. This bill, I think, was intended to try to stop the bleeding that's happening at the borders and all of the influx that's happening at the borders. And it's not exclusive to Latino migrants that are coming in. We have migrants that are coming from other countries that are coming up through the South, along with what's happening there. So the intention of the bill, I think, certainly is to try to hem up, to slow down that entry point of what's happening there. Some of the bill has problems in my view. A lot of problems. And I think that both Aaron and Attorney Santita laid it up perfectly on some of the issues that are there with the bill. The other thing that's there with this bill, and let's remember when you're talking about this 4,000 to 5,000 person limit over a 70-day period collectively hitting the trigger, it accepts minors, right? So minors are excluded from all of this. So there's a minor entering in, and they're not included according to this bill.
No, wait. Hold on, because that sounds weird. Okay, because you shouldn't do anything without someone's parent or guardian. That sounds bizarre, and it opens the door. Let's put it where it is, Daryl Jones, to sex trafficking, which is what we're beginning to see in the trafficking of children. What is that?
Yeah, I can't. My understanding is that it's some type of compromise that was being worked out, so that they were accepting minors, accepting as EX, right? Accepting minors from the policy, from the bill that's being put in for the minors that are coming over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it certainly has the feeling of something that's wrong, and there's something else that's undercover there that's going on. But that's the way that the bill is written. So I don't know where they're going with that. The other part that bothers me with this bill, concerns me about this bill, is that some $400 million is actually being subjected or submitted to deal with DNA sampling for the people that are attempting to cross, as well as the autonomous surveillance towers and all of this other militaristic stuff that they're going to be building up to monitor what's happening, to collect samples. And I get nervous when I start hearing about that, because I know it's not going to be simply focused on the border, that it's going to go beyond the border. And they're going to be collecting these DNA samples and other privacy issues that are going to go beyond, because they're going to have to determine whether or not they suspect this person is an illegal immigrant, is an illegal migrant that's coming in. Does that go beyond the border? Are they already in the communities? Are they already in the areas? And then they're now going to be subjected to this. And then you end up having some people that are supposed to be here or legally here that may be subjected to it as well. So I become concerned with that part as well, Santita. But certainly, when we start talking about, and I think that, Dwight always talks about look at the economics of it, look at the work part of it. When you look at this bill and you start thinking about the economics of it and the exploitation economically, we start understanding and seeing that, if folks are here on the work visas, that under this bill, they would start expanding it for their children to be able to work, for their spouses to be able to work, to be able to exploit the labor, the cheap labor source that may be there that's available. So all of this is under that bill, and I think it certainly creates issues in that regard. I agree with Attorney Santita wholeheartedly with regards to the asylum seekers in the process, and having the hearing officers or hearing judges that are there, and the prosecutors that are there to be able to process these in a timely manner as well as in a thorough manner. But there's so much other stuff that's built in this bill that makes it extremely concerning. And I don't know the answer. But I do know that when you talk about speeding up naturalization for migrants that are serving in our military, that's probably a good thing. But all the other spillage that's there is very concerning.
But it's very concerning to me. I mean, because Attorney Sanat, I've got less than a minute here. Why you need to connect someone's DNA samples, and why we're giving space to these children, many of whom go missing. My mother and father wouldn't let me go anywhere by myself. I don't get it. And we have a sex trafficking problem in the United States. We do. Something is bizarre here, and I don't like it, and you shouldn't like it either. Keep following this bill. Continue. Yeah, I got about 15 seconds. Attorney Sanat, 15.
Okay, yeah, so the DNA samples is probably going a little bit too far, but a lot of these kids do leave their homes in order to come and work because they can't make any money in their own countries.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're going with the actual person that's the parent, going with the person that's actually an uncle and not someone who's trafficking in children. The DNA samples is supposed to address that issue, but then you have a slippery slope in that the DNA samples can then be used against them later in their lives. And then
Absolutely.
you have a ton of different data and information that would be used, like that young lady who got arrested
Absolutely.
for stealing stuff because they got her DNA.
Absolutely. Back on AM950 radio in just a minute. You guys, I'm so glad that you're here this morning. Thank you. We are still up on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, so you all can have at it and keep on talking. I think, Dr. Knighton, I might have to let you go because we're going to bring in, I need to bring in, oh, no, stay right there. I might be able to bring in Dr. Gibbs myself while Chappelle brings in. Hold on, babe. No, keep talking, but wait, just give me 1 minute. Because we're trying to, you know me, I'm always trying to line up the next segment. Okay? Just give me 1 minute. Okay, great.
Good morning.
Hey, Dr. Gibbs, me calling you in the middle of the night. I fell asleep. I've just been I'm so sorry. I've been so tired. But let me bring you in and let me make sure that Chappelle can get Chappelle.
I'm just curious to know, do people test them? Is Big Pharma involved anyway with illegals on the border? Are they put up under some sort of scrutiny for vaccine, drugs? How does that go? Meaning, we know that human subjects protection prevails for people that are citizens, but how does it go for someone that's crossing our borders? Meaning, are they vulnerable to that sort of scrutiny or to, being subjected to things that they otherwise wouldn't do? Clinical trials and stuff like that.
Yeah, some of the migrants are offered, or those that are coming undocumented, many of them are offered opportunities in order to get those types of health treatments by Department of Homeland Security. Some accept, some decline. For example, when COVID pandemic was shutting down the entire world, there were people still trying to cross the border, and some of them were being offered, some of those vaccines, even though many of them went to the Americans, but it was the vaccines that the Americans.
Okay, everybody, I'm trying to get everybody up that I can. Okay.
Good morning.
Hey, hon, I'm going to merge you in. I'm trying to get up Attorney Fancher, but we've got Attorney Sanat. Hold on, let me see.
If you want to use my call in,
Could you call Attorney Fancher?
I don't know his number.
I'll send it to you right now.
Okay.
Okay.
And you want me to have him do the call in or just have him call?
No, there's no space. I need you to call. Okay, I'll send you the run sheet right now. I'm sorry I didn't send it earlier. Just tired. Okay, just hold on one moment. Let me send this to you, CK. I'm going to send it to you by text, okay? Okay. And just look down on your area, and it will be there. And if you can get him, that would be great. And we'll go right into Fonnie Willis. But I've got to get everybody else up. Okay. Okay, have I interrupted anyone speaking?
No, I was just answering
Okay.
the question. I thought it was a good question, but
No, it is a great question. I'm sorry.
Let's also be clear that when a person wants to get a green card, all of those things that need to be accomplished have to be accomplished before they can even get their green card. So if they're not vaccinated, they need to be vaccinated. All of those things are requirements in order to enter the United States that would protect the American public. They can't be bringing in stuff. They have to make sure that they're good to go.
But this vaccine doesn't protect you from spreading anything.
So no, it wasn't necessarily just about that one, Santita, but just for example, when trials and stuff are being ran, you know how like human subjects applies to the United States. I was asking that because, you know, immigrants, they'll have like this unknown status if they're more subjected to, let's say, pharmaceutical testing and just things that might be unethical or unorthodox, just because they don't officially have that status, but they're there, which makes them more vulnerable to things that would technically be illegal, but are true benefits of, let's say, like Big Pharma and other companies.
Oh, no, I'm totally hearing you.
That's why I brought up the father of OBGYN.
No, yeah.
The father of OBGYN used black women without their knowledge and did a whole bunch of stuff to their bodies.
That's right.
And of course, now he's getting all the credit of being the father, but what he did was so horrible and inhumane.
Oh, girl, and that was just the beginning.
Currently does not allow that to occur.
Yeah, I mean, but it never stopped. That's what's so awful. I mean, and
there are clinical trials out there in which they do this. They by paying people in order to destroy their lives.
no, what I'm talking about is
not something the United States did.
No. We were in the Mississippi appendectomy, which just ended a couple of decades ago, when black women would go to get a regular checkup and they'd come out sterilized. I'm just saying it's an ongoing problem. And we practice on the poor. Like the clinical trials for vaccines are not in Europe. They're not in the United States. They're in Africa, in India. And they are suing Big Pharma. They're suing Bill Gates and these other people because they're like, this is hurting our children. I mean, as you're trying to work this out, perfect this, I mean, we have to talk about that because they have massive lawsuits against them. But what concerns me is that many of these children are missing. And because they're not being handled here properly, many of them are they're being trafficked. They're being sex trafficked. That's something that my brother, Congressman Jackson, has seen. And this is horrible, what's happening here.
It makes me think about that nurse. So Donna Wooten, I don't know if you remember that a couple years ago where she blew the whistle. In Georgia, it was for like those detention centers because they were taking it.
Okay, everybody, stand by. I got about 20 seconds. I got to come up. Excuse me, one moment. Do we have Attorney Fancher on?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, fantastic, everybody. Great. CK, you see all the people you have, right?
I do.
Everybody's here, including Dr. Knighton, who is sticking around because she loves getting the news. Stand by, everybody. We are inside of 10 seconds.
Okay.
5, I can hear something in the background. 3, 2, 1. AM950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you today on my radio show. I'm so glad to be with you. Sending much love to Brett and Chad and everybody in Minneapolis-St. Paul. And my morning stars, I'm so glad that you caught up with us, Michael Ann, right over here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Everybody like and subscribe. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing? Renee, how you doing? Good. Renee, before we get into this, she has a question about what happens to the asylum seekers as they have to wait to be able to work. Well, they get into a lot of nefarious activities, and that's what's disturbing to me because they're pulled into it because they got to eat. They got to live. It's awful what we're doing to people. We're reducing people instead of building people. We're going to pay for that. No, you can't call me, but you can reach out to me on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, everybody, please go there and like and share. Like and share. And like and subscribe there, but like and share on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. The Santita Jackson and Friends page. And reach out to me because I want to hear what your thoughts are as we talk about Fonnie Willis. And it turns out she has had a personal relationship, told you, with Nathan Wade. That, that's the human heart wants what it wants. It is what it is. But is it disqualifying? So let's dig down in this case because the latest is here and we're going to talk with Attorney C.K. Hoffman. And I promise you we're going to talk about this mother, Mrs. Crumbley, who was convicted. And she and maybe her husband will be held responsible for the murders and misdeeds committed by their son after they bought him a gun, knowing that he was very disturbed. But it's not just that he was disturbed. He's just not a nice guy, y'all. Mentally ill people hurt themselves. Angry people hurt other people. Okay? Let's stop playing that game. Because you make mentally ill people vulnerable, and it's just not right. And it's not true. It's not true. Mentally ill people hurt themselves. That's why they have a straitjacket, so they won't hurt themselves. Hello? They're put in a padded room, so they won't hurt themselves. They're isolated, so they won't hurt themselves. A lot of angry people are put in other kind of places because they got to work that out. And you don't work it out in prison, unfortunately, because we don't have a rehabilitative system. But we're going to keep on talking about it. Let's get to some of these headlines from the Washington Post. Donald Trump is not immune from January 6th prosecution, and appeals court ruled he can be put on trial for trying to stay in power after losing the 2020 election. Yesterday's ruling said it rejected his claim of presidential immunity. It's a blow to him and his quest to escape conviction, and it could restrain him if he returns to the White House. Nikki Haley suffered what many people are calling a tremendous, even embarrassing defeat in Nevada's Republican primary. She lost to an option to vote for none of the candidates listed. That's right, quote, N-O-N-E, close quote. Trump skipped yesterday's non-binding contest because tomorrow's caucuses are binding. The 26 delegates in Nevada are up in tomorrow's caucuses. The House failed to impeach Homeland Security Mayorkas. Homeland Security Mayorkas, he has got to be very grateful to Texas Congressman Al Green, who had been in the hospital after the speaker, who never takes anything to the floor without checking with his whip and making sure that they have all of the votes in place. After checking, Congressman Green was not there for the prior vote because he had been in the hospital, but he was wheeled into the chambers, into the House, onto the floor without shoes from the hospital and voted down this measure. You can't make this stuff up. Jennifer Crumbley was convicted yesterday. The Crumbleys bought their teenage son a gun just before he killed 4 students at Michigan's Oxford High School in 2021. She's the first parent of a mass shooter to face such serious charges related to their child's crime. We've got to talk about that because remember, this was a bit of a joke to them. Remember that? Yeah. The Boeing 737 MAX plane that blew out a panel mid-flight was, get this everybody, CK, with all the flying that all of us do, Attorney Fancher, Attorney Sanat, Attorney Connolly, Attorney Jones. Guess what? And guess what? Speaking of safety, Dr. Shanita Knight, and guess what? It was missing bolts. It had not, they were without 4 bolts. They had not finished the construction. Well, should I say they had not checked it adequately. You can't make this up. You will have a high of 52 degrees today in Minneapolis-St. Paul. It'll be cloudy, but it'll be warm. It's feeling like spring at the beginning of February. The Wild will be playing Chicago tonight, and the Bulls are triumphant over the Timberwolves. 129 to 123. Those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. Want to know what your thoughts are about Fonnie Willis? Fonnie Willis. Many people are wondering how they're calling this a scandal, but is it really a scandal? You let us know what you think. She admits that the relationship with Nathan Wade, one of the 3 special prosecutors that she hired, is a personal one. It is a romantic one that they assert began after they started working together, after he was in the midst of his divorce. But is it disqualifying? Is it disqualifying? Should she be kicked off the case because of this? Many ethicists are saying no. Some are saying yes. So we want to know what you think. Go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. And Attorney C.K. Hoffler, it's time for Legal Q&A with C.K. You talk to us about what you think. Because you know what? Look, I told you from the beginning. I told you so. I said, yes, you had a relationship with him. And I wasn't coming from a place of judgment, C.K. I was like, you know what? We work together. You know, you're in the trenches. This is the biggest case of her career. You want to have someone on your team who's got your back. And if you're both emotionally vulnerable, boom, there it is. I mean, I just think that what bothers me are, as my mother says, I don't believe in peeking up under people's sheets. I just don't. Unless what you're doing is going to impact and affect and infect the case. But you tell us what's going on.
Good morning, Santita, and everyone else on this great panel that we have today. Santita, before we talk about, just very quickly, before we talk about Fonnie Willis, our district attorney here in Fulton County, I just want to say a word about Jennifer Crumbley, just really quickly.
Oh, and can you wait a minute? Can you come on tomorrow and talk about that too?
I will come on tomorrow and talk about it because I covered it extensively. So let's hop over to Fonnie Willis, our district attorney. I don't know if you recall, I presented a picture and a framework previously when we addressed this issue. And it was basically as the, it didn't matter to me. There was no consequence, certainly not legal consequence, whether she was having a sexual relationship with Nathan Ward. He's not her employee. He's not employed by the district attorney's office. He's not an employee. He's an independent contractor. But even if he were an employee, there's nothing, but he wasn't. He's an independent contractor. There was nothing illegal or immoral from my standpoint, or unprofessional, or unethical about them having a romantic relationship. I will say this, two things. Is it the best practices? Absolutely not.
No.
It's not the best practices to have someone on your list to be involved in a relationship with someone. And in a case like this, the complexity, the profile, when you know that they're going to be attacked, it's just not best practice. There's nothing immoral, illegal, unethical, unprofessional. Because there is no evidence that he was paid more money, that he was all of the allegations, the improprieties, financial improprieties that have been alleged. There is no evidence of that. And I never felt there would be evidence of that. This is just a salacious little something that they're latching onto as a distraction. It has absolutely, positively no bearing whatsoever on the underlying claims against former President Donald Trump and all of the other defendants. Period, end of discussion. Nothing. No bearing. The acts, the criminal acts that are alleged in the RICO indictment are the criminal acts alleged in the RICO indictment. Fonnie Willis was not part of the criminal acts alleged in the RICO indictment. Nathan Ward was not part of the criminal acts alleged in the RICO indictment. And by the way, all of this discussion about his qualifications, I've read from the Washington Post that I didn't go from being someone who prosecuted or who was a prosecutor traffic tickets or handled traffic tickets to being on one of the most significant legal cases of all time. Did we forget he was a Superior Court judge in Georgia? Let's just talk about that. First of all, he's got the credentials. I've been, Santita, you know this, I practiced with one of the greatest trial lawyers of all time, Willie Gary.
Mm-hmm.
We were on trial teams. You're on a team for a reason. People bring different things. Everybody doesn't have to be great at everything. I know the firms that are working on the teams. Actually, the Bondurant firm, Bondurant, Dixon, and Elmore, they are my appellate counsel in a lot of cases. They are one of the best technically proficient white-collar crime, which is what this is, and street crime. They do high-level cases in the state of Georgia. They've got a great team. He is in a leadership position because of his, presumably, she trusted him and knew that he would do the job and get it done. And by the way, let's talk about it. This complex litigation, whatever legal team has been assembled, has done a phenomenal job. Who's positive? You don't try to get off the case somebody who's jacking the who's not doing a phenomenal job, who's not effective. They have brought one of the most significant pieces of litigation in this country because it involves the former president of the United States and 17 other defendants. So that's the issue. You don't try. I have been in the shoes of trying to be people trying to remove us from a case. And that was after $139 million verdict. So you only try to remove people from a case who are doing what they're supposed to do until gaining traction. It's a tactic. It's a red herring. Nothing more, nothing less. Has absolutely no bearing on the underlying claims. Not a single person can connect those dots. And that's the test. Again, best practices with a high-profile case like this, perhaps not. But she's human. He's coming out of the divorce. So there's nothing illegal
about when they was engaged in interromantic relationship. When he gets paid, and just one more second about this, Santita, when he gets paid $600,000 or whatever he gets paid, that's his money. He can do whatever he wants to do with his money. I'm in the private sector like he is. No one will ever tell me what to do with my money when I spend it. I can give it all away to whoever. I can spend it on whoever. No one can tell me what to do with the money that I earn. Absolutely not. And let me break down for you all, because I started at Big Law. We passed a bill, my recollection, it was almost 40 years ago, 2,500 billable hours a year. So if you break down 25, I want people to think about it in this prism. If you work 10 hours a day for 5 days a week, which, by the way, I never did. I was working more like 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if you work 10 hours a week, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and if you compute that out on a monthly basis and on a yearly basis, that turns out to be $600,000 a year. That's on a base of 2,500 billable hours a year. At the rate that he was getting paid, $250 an hour, which, by the way, is low and low. I think my billing rate was $250 when I was practicing 25 years ago. So that's low for this type of case. I can assure you that Donald Trump, Stephen Sadao, who I do know, I don't know his bill, I don't remember his billing rate, but I'm sure his billing rate is close to $1,000 an hour. So if you compute 2,500 hours a year with Stephen Sadao, you get $2.5 billion. So let's just take out the mystique of, oh my goodness, he's paid all this money. He wasn't paid all that kind of money for this kind of case. This is an excess case. You have to be married to this case. Work on a case like this with complex litigation. How do I know? Because this is what I do for a living. Not RICO cases, although I've done several RICO cases, but these type of complex cases, high-stakes cases. They are intense, they are labor-intense, they are all-absorbing, they will suck everything out of you, because that's what it takes to win these types of cases. So, this issue, a red herring, a distraction, perhaps not the best practices, nothing illegal, immoral, unethical, and that's how I see it.
Well, what is the rub? But CK, what is, just very, very quickly, what is the rub? I mean, because they said that before we get everyone else in, what is the rub? They're accusing them of mishandling the funds. What's going on?
Yeah, well, you got to have evidence of mishandling the funds. There's no evidence. He was paid what he billed, just like everybody else was paid what they billed. The fact that other lawyers work less hours, well, they work less hours. He's a legal counsel. He was paid what he billed. He can do what he wants with his money. There's no pass-through back to her. They can go on trips. There might be, the worst case would be an appearance of impropriety. It appears like there could be something wrong because she's a district attorney, she hired him. And then whether they were having romantic relationships when she hired him or not, these are red herrings. If we're going to hold people to that standard, then the majority of lawyers and judges need to sit down now. Majority of professional people need to sit down now. It is not uncommon for people in the same profession to have a relationship and, oh, by the way, get married or not get married. This is, I do think, yes, a district attorney perhaps could have, and I'm sure they thought this through, but this is that she was involved in a sexual relationship with him. She said she was involved with him. I wish they had come out with their response sooner. The response was excellent, by the way. If you haven't had a chance to read it, read the response to the motion. And yes, she should be held to standard like everybody else in this case. I don't think it's the best practice, but it is what it is. The question for me is whether there was misappropriation of funds, whether it's illegal, whether it's immoral, whether it's unethical, and I find no on all of those fronts. There's no evidence that I've seen that there was a misuse of funds, simply because he chooses to fly her around the world or pay tickets for her and all that. That doesn't make it illegal or unethical. If he worked those hours and billed those hours, he's entitled to be paid for those hours that he worked and he billed. Period. End of discussion. Like every other lawyer. You work, you're entitled to get paid for your work. You spend your money how you want to spend your money. So I don't see Santita that rub. I think it is a rub. There might be the appearance of impropriety, but I think there's no impact on the underlying case that would warrant her being removed from the case. Did she exercise the best judgment? I say best practices. May not be what I would have done, but I'm not judging her for that because there's no underlying illegality from the way that I look at it. So, and if we're going to hold her to that standard, we have to change the entire profession, every profession. And I just know, that our former president, Donald Trump, who's been convicted of sexually harassing and has been, I know that's not what he said. I know that can't be saying. This is just a red herring. That's all. That's what it is. It's an important red herring because of the high-profile case. And yeah, I wish it hadn't happened, but it did happen. And that's life.
I wanted to add on that, actually, because I do agree that it is a red herring. This is Attorney Santita. I wanted to say that it was a red herring, but I don't think it's for his excellent work. I honestly think it's as simple as racism, because she appointed, according to her Big Bethel AME response that she gave out during Martin Luther King Day, she indicated that she appointed 3 people. One was a white woman, one was a white man, and one was a black man. But it's only the black man that is getting drugged through the water. And she articulates, as you have already articulated, he's been a judge for more than 10 years. He runs a private practice for more than 20 years. He's represented businesses in civil litigation. He was a criminal defense lawyer, special assistant attorney general. And he's also served as the prosecutor. So I think that he had the qualifications, just as the rest of the white people have had the qualifications. But I think the reason why this former Trump person is coming after him is merely because he's black, and it's easier to get Trump's name in the news if we use this way. If we are really talking about, as you gave it a great example, by the way, because I think Big Law is crazy with these hours. But an average American working full time only works 40 hours a week. And if you do 52 weeks in a year, that's only 2,080 hours. So anyone who's being forced to work more than that is basically breaking their back. And so if we see in his billables, right, and he gives these statements in order to get paid, and he's doing that, that means he's breaking his back in order to make sure that the case goes right. And that's all that says. I don't think that Nathan Wade was put in a situation that he wouldn't be able to handle, but I do think that the news around Nathan Wade is because they're running out of options. They're running out of ways in order to control the trajectory of what's really going to happen. All of them are eventually going to get convicted, and will all end up being against them. And I think the reason why they're attacking him is simple as racism. He's black.
CK?
I didn't even get to that, and I'm glad that you raised that, Attorney Santita. I didn't even get to the race thing, because before you even get to the race thing, which could be number 1, 2, and 3, there's so many other things to show that it's a red herring, and we don't need to get distracted. But I agree with you. I did, but I'd love to hear what Attorney Martin has to say about this. Extraordinary, funny, we've heard Santita as one of your morning stars, like Attorney Santita. Love to hear what he has to say about this issue.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. I think that this becomes a curiosity or strange when people begin to forget that we are not American. We are, in many respects, Africans in exile, and that as such, we have a set of rules that don't apply to others, even though we may have been in this country from the earliest of times. And I think that it's not just professionals that have to worry about this. Everyday people have to worry about being criminalized or demonized or in some way marginalized because they do things that everybody else does. It was that way back in the period of enslavement. They had a whole set of laws called slave codes that prohibited enslaved Africans from doing the same kinds of things that white people could do legally and without a problem. Because of the slave code, those enslaved Africans were not allowed to gather in groups of 2 or 3. They were not allowed to learn to read. They were not allowed to possess or in any way use weapons. They were not allowed to go from place to place without carrying certain credentials and passes. There were a whole lot of restrictions placed on them that did not apply to the rest of the society. And that never really changed. Even after enslavement ended, the slave codes were in many places replaced by black codes, which also imposed similar types of restrictions. You won't be able to look at the law books now or the ethics manual or guidelines and rules and find that attorneys have a certain set of ethics that apply generally and across the board, and then a special set that applies to black lawyers. But they're there, and everybody knows what they are. They may not know all of them because they're not explicit, they've not been referenced explicitly, but intuitively everybody knows that there are certain things that black lawyers cannot do, and if they do them, then they're going to be held accountable for them. Most black lawyers certainly know that. I think that most of us on this call who are black and who practice law have found themselves in situations many times, I know I have, where I've been working with teams of white lawyers, and as a group, they may have decided, well, we're going to do A, B, and C. And then I will object strenuously, and they say, well, what's the problem? I say, I can't do that. And they will look, they'll be puzzled, they'll say, well, it's legal, it's ethical. And I say, yeah, you can get away with it and claim that it's legal and it's ethical. If I do it, it's going to become a sin. And so I cannot sign on to this. That's the way life has to be lived in this country. I'm not excusing it or justifying it. I think that we all know how unjust and fundamentally wrong that is. But that is the reality of life in America for everybody. And I think that we trip up. When we drift along, we get fancy positions, we get positions of authority, we get a lot of money, we get some influence, and we forget. We begin to think, yes, the American dream is real. Yes, I have overcome. Yes, I have made it to that place where now everybody is judging me by the quality of my work, the content of my character, and how I perform, and not by my skin color. No, that never goes away. They still are looking at you. And I think in the end, no matter how much alphabet salad you have behind your name, in the end, people are still going to have only one title for you, and that's the word that begins with N.
CK?
I agree with Sandra. It's very hard to be a black attorney in America. They don't respect all of the things that we've accomplished, all the places that we have gone. They reduce us to just being black. I mean, going into a courtroom as a black woman for the first time and being thought of as the judge's clerks is insulting. Just like other attorneys who are criminal prosecutors being thought of as the defendant in the case. It's insulting. This happens to us all the time.
Well, let me say this. My blackness cannot be reduced. Your thinking can be reduced. I think we got to tweak that. Because there's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with the system that reduces people, that reduces indigenous people, that reduces black people, that reduces Latino people, that reduces people. Something is wrong with you when you need to be 7/5 human and make me 3/5 human. Something is wrong with you. And we need to flip this script. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm not tragically black, and I'm not magically black either. I am just black. That's it.
And that's attorneys did not, and you raised excellent points on that issue. And it wasn't when I first started practicing law, it was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
I've been practicing law for almost 40 years, and I can assure you, many of you have never met me, but I walked in like I am ready to win. That's how I carry myself as a lawyer. That's just how I am. So, 2 weeks ago, I don't want people to think it's when you're young, but 2 weeks ago, and I'm a woman of a certain age, 2 weeks ago, I walked in to the courtroom, and I was observing a judge on a case that I had coming up because I was a judge in trial before I tried a case before them. And one of the lawyers sitting at counsel table, turns to me and said, "Oh, can you fix the I know we would wait for you to come in and fix the screen. We were having an issue with the screen. Could you fix that for us because we're really, we're the judge is going to come in any moment and we need to." And I said, "And you're saying that to me? Why?" See, I've been bad my whole. Why? And she looked at me. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry. So I've never seen you here. And with your point, I'm not here to fix the television and this and that. I'm here because I'm a lawyer serving this judge." And the way I looked at her, she started backing away like I was going to attack her or whatever.
Oh, they always think you're going to physically attack them. I mean, what is that?
But she did start walking backwards like I was going to attack her. But my point is, I always am called, always. And these are very noble professions, the court reporter, because I travel with a lot of documents and boxes and stuff like that still. And so they all, "Oh, that court reporter." I'm not your court reporter. I'm not your court reporter. But that is the presumption. That is the assumption. I have had many instances over my almost 40-year career where I was leading something, and I may have had white attorneys working on my team, or whoever would come in, they would assume that white attorney was leading something. And so that happens all the time in depositions, in court, with judges, with personnel, with everyone. That is the plight that we experience as Black lawyers. In fact, it's so common and normal that a lot of times I just look at people like they're crazy and keep on going about my business. And then they realize, because sometimes I just don't have time to respond because I'm prepared. So that's commonplace. So I do think race is a big factor. We don't have gender, but we do have race. But we do have gender as it relates to Fonnie Willis. We know, and it's like we talked about on this show, how Black women prosecutors have been targeted, were targeted, continue to be targeted throughout the country. But even though they're targeted, this is, I think, yes, evidence of the targeting, because it may not be as significant for someone else. But this is also just evidence of the nature of this case and who is being prosecuted. And that is significant because they are going to stop at nothing, the defendants, to try to get the case dismissed. That's what litigation is about. It's a war. And when you're at war, you have to always come in armed. And so when there's a little bit of a kink in the armor, or a little something in the armor, then the other side in war is going to try to take advantage of that. And that's what it is. Whether it's, but yeah, of course, they're not going to attack the other lawyers from the other person. Like I said, by the way, they're formidable lawyers. One of the firms is one of the top firms in Georgia. So they've got a formidable team. But guess what? If they weren't doing a good job, we wouldn't be seeing this. You don't try to remove lawyers from a case unless they are doing a great job, or unless they are doing what they're supposed to be doing in this case. And Fonnie Willis has not been impacted and stood up to the mountain of criticism, the mountain of attack, the mountain of security threats that she experiences every single day, she and her family. And she's kept on business as usual. So, at the end of the day, how significant is this? I think not so. But I'd like to hear from Aaron Connolly and Daryl Jones on this. Aaron Connolly, you're there in Illinois, but you are a visionary, a lawyer as well. You're a woman lawyer as well. And I'd like to hear what your thoughts are about this situation with Fonnie Willis.
She might have gone on to take her child to school, but you got a lot of other people you're gonna ask.
Daryl Jones. We have Daryl Jones here, attorney extraordinaire, former prosecutor, criminal defense lawyer. You stand in the shoes really to speak to that. I'm not saying that you are licensed to that, but you stand in the shoes as someone who might defend a case like this, perhaps. And what do you think about this,
CK, it's really interesting. I was listening to the conversation. I remember all the experiences that I've had as private counsel going into courtrooms and jurisdictions and being mistaken for the defendant and all the other stuff that we go through. But in this Fonnie Willis case, one of the things that I find really interesting is this, and this is coming from the defense attorney perspective. One of the things you want to do is you want to have the weakest prosecutor on the case that you can have. I mean, if in fact you believe that Nathan Wade was ineffective, unskilled, inexperienced, I ain't going to try to have him removed. Not on the defense side, no way. That's what I want. Give me a prosecutor that's inexperienced. Give me a prosecutor that's not going to know the tactics that I'm going to be trying at trial. Give me a judge that's inexperienced. I mean, that's what you want as a defense attorney. So, arguing that because Nathan Wade was inexperienced, that is a red herring. There's no question about that. That is red herring. But I think it's a red herring for another reason. I would submit, particularly from the defense side, that one of the things that I want to do, that I feel that I need to do in a case like this, I need to poison that jury pool. I need to reach people that are going to be potential jurors to thinking that the prosecution is just as bad as my client and what they're accusing my client of doing. So if I can get into the mind of any potential juror that's following this case, that the prosecutor and the prosecutor's prosecutor and all the other stuff, they're all messed up. That's all messed up. That then I can try to move towards some type of nullification type verdict where people are thinking that, he might have, but they're just as bad. I think that this is a move that really has the intent of trying to poison the potential juror pool that will be hearing the case down the road. It's not necessarily, and certainly it is intended to Fonnie Willis, and it is intended to Nathan Wade. But I think that, they can't see this as a winning strategy in terms of having them removed from the case because there's no connection. As has been said, one of the things that's being questioned here is whether or not anything has been done that would question the evidence and the presentation of evidence in the case. And that's not what's here. And this is just a sideshow of a relationship to try to poison a jury pool. There's nothing about their relationship that would have impacted the grand jury that was impaneled to hear the evidence that issued the indictments in this case. None of that is affected by this allegation. The only thing that this potentially affects, is it gets a little bit into the mind of Nathan Wade, a little bit into the mind of Fonnie Willis to try to take them on target and to try to poison the jury pool. That's what I see the aspect of this as. And the more it's talked about, the more publicity that's given to the hearing, the publicity that's given to the relationship, potentially the exposure that's given to Fox or any other news source regarding the potential of some bad relations, some unethical practice. That's poisoning the jury pool. That's precisely what the defense counsel is saying. That's what I see.
That's an excellent point, Daryl. That's an excellent point. And everyone, I just want you to appreciate that Daryl Jones is theoretically sits in the place that former President Donald Trump's lawyers would say. He's on the other side in front of the strike now. He's a social justice engineer par excellence. There is no stronger advocate. And simply because he does his best work and I can plaintiff's work and he's on the other side, I have to appreciate the brilliance and stellar contributions. But I want people to understand that we have all aspects of the practice of law represented and giving this perspective. But I would love to hear from Dr. Santita, who's not a lawyer, who's an extraordinary inspection perfectionist, who's phenomenal, and who we see up here as part of your Morning Stars as well. I would love to hear what she has to say about this.
So that is interesting, CK, because I'll be honest, I am more so being a consumer this morning instead of a producer, meaning just hearing the interesting takes about it has been eye-opening. I personally have an appreciation for the fact that, yes, relationships can have the intention to sway things, but then does it really come down to that? And so I'm still stuck on the mic drop moment, by Attorney Sancher a little while ago. Just in the fact that at the end of the day, that is the looming thing in the background when it does come to our color, which tends to sometimes not necessarily minimize our greatness, but it comes as a distraction. And so the one thing, and I want to ask you all to put on your attorney hats, for the audience and for us, is to just help us understand how in so many ways do you smartly litigate, or move through those challenges when your talent, your excellence, your track record should speak for itself, but yet and still you're having to do above and beyond to be able to demonstrate that you are the most qualified, that you are the person, that is in a proper position to be able to handle the work, but you're being distracted with having to prove instead of actually doing the work.
Well, it is, and I'll take a stab at it. You just do it. Dr. Knight, you just do it. So, and I have bench trials, not many, but I do primarily jury trials. And just like with anybody else, you have got to, what you're trying to do is create a connection with the jury so that when you're picking a jury, this is the first contact you have with prospective jurors, that will convey to them, number one, you're a strong advocate for your client. Number two, you know your stuff. Number three, you can be trusted. And number four, what your client's position is, should be you want the jury to vote on your side. Because theoretically, jurors have made up their minds. This is what the empirical evidence is in studies. But after opening statements. So without even hearing the evidence, just think about that. After opening statements, if you believe some of the theories that we plaintiffs lawyers use and some of the ways that we approach our task and what we do, from the beginning, when you're in the parking lot, before you get out of your car, every single thing that you do as a trial lawyer and as an advocate when you're going to trial is looked at through a microscope. You're sitting in your car about to go into the courthouse for the first time to begin to pick a jury, and there could be jurors in the parking lot that you don't even know. You have no idea. They are watching you. They will watch every single thing that you do. That's all lawyers. But when you're a lawyer of color, just like with anything else, I mean, when I pick juries, most of my cases are tried before all white juries. And just like anything else, you have to demystify. That's just part of life. This is what we grow up to do. Because you got to persuade those people to rule in favor of your client. Sometimes my clients are black. Sometimes my clients are white. Sometimes my clients are just brown people. But no matter what they are, I've got the same task to do. And of course, they're going to look at me initially, some with a jaundiced eye because I'm black, because I'm a woman. Because as a woman, you can't be too this and too that and too this and too that. You can't be too, I don't want to say the word, but it begins with a B. You have to be all of these things. And it's just an art. It's an art form. Much like it's an art form when you are a doctor or when you are a nurse. You're performing your what you do at high levels. There are doctors, there are black doctors who tell the story, still living, not back in the 40s and 30s, that when they walked into the room, there were white patients that did not want them to touch them. Mm-hmm. And this could have been the top doctor, the best doctor, the person who runs the facility. And so you have to deal with that reality. And then what we do, and when you're picking a jury, you of course want to get off your jury, because if you have a client that they feel that way about, they're not going to rule in favor of that client. So this attorney, Fonnie Willis, knows how to do that. And I just your team. That's what they do. And so, Dr. Knight, what you do is you just do you. You do what you're trained to do. I've had all kinds of experts, professionals coach me over the years. I've been trained as a lawyer by, I think, the best trial lawyer in the world. That's just me, of course, I'm very biased, and favorably here. I think she really is. And you learn how to navigate because you learn from others, but you must make no mistake and go into that courtroom thinking that it doesn't exist. Because it does exist. The race component and the gender component if you're a woman. That's just what you're a black woman. That's just the way it is. So you have to do those things, Dr. Knight, that we're trained to do. We don't get distracted. Just do it.
were saying, CK. I think one of the strategies, if I can answer your question, Doctor, is that a lot of us already know that we're going to be facing these walls. And some of us use those walls to our advantage. So if you know the defense attorney is already thinking that you're meek, mild, and stupid, sometimes you present yourself in a way that creates an opportunity for you to appear that way, but in reality, you are not. So, for example, when you're asking a question, you know the answer to, obviously, but the way that you ask the question, oh, I didn't know that such and such happened. It's a little bit of touch of sarcasm in it, but the reality is you're going to get the evidence that you need in order to present this back. So when you're thinking of strategies in order to go into court, sometimes you have to know your opponent. Sometimes you have to know the judge. If they come in there thinking that you're stupid and mild and meek, sometimes, be mild for a little while until you can get your strength up. Be weak a little bit so you can get your strength up. But at the end of the day, you know that you're using it to the advantage of your client. You're using it to the advantage of making sure that things happen, as DK has already said, to demystify them ultimately. So it happens, but strategies are employed by a variety of different people in a variety of different ways. Some people come in there that are flashy. People like flashy. But then there are other people that come in and they have a sense of humility immediately about them based on their demeanor and their attire. And juries like that. Judges like that. Some people appreciate that. So you have to kind of know the audience that you're going up against in order to make sure that you practice the art form correctly, right? And I like to say it's a form of theater, The courtroom is kind of a form of theater. You have to make sure that you're putting on the right show to get the right result.
I regard the whole thing as a great blessing. I don't see it as a negative at all. From day to day, especially as I pursue a professional life, I always pray and ask that God just use me as a medium, that He take control, and that He speaks through me, that He thinks through me, that He acts through me, and He does that a lot. And because there are times when I'm saying and doing things that I know are not coming from me. And whenever that happens, then all obstacles fall. There is no resistance when that begins to happen. Whatever opposition I face or am facing is crushed, absolutely and permanently. And when that happens, then I just give praise and it just reaffirms my faith. But there are times when I can tell that He is basically saying, look, I'm not going to do your work for you. And I've given you what you need in order to do this well. And when that happens, then just taking stock of the circumstances, understanding what the opposition is, and the fact that all of this is present, makes me work much harder than I would work if that was not there. I think in the absence of the types of conditions that we face as Black lawyers, I could probably be a very mediocre kind of a person, a very mediocre kind of a professional, because I would have no incentive to go above and beyond. I would not have any incentive to be as excellent as I can be as a human being. So adversity is not something always to cry about or moan about. Many times it is a great blessing. It makes you into the best human being that you can be. And for that, we can only thank God for His infinite wisdom and knowing that that is what He has given us. And we can only pity the many who benefit from white privilege and who drift along in mediocrity and who descend into a Trump-like state. And as they waste their lives and make nothing of their lives and only cause harm and misery for others, while those of us who are having to overcome are using this very precious opportunity of life to try and make God's creation a better place.
Diamonds are made under pressure. Otherwise, you'd just be a hunk of coal, right?
Well, I appreciate that. I do. There was some, I would say, amazing insight. And I think the thing is, I know that's amazing, is a lot of that I know comes with wisdom. it's just thinking through how do you create those life lessons, or I would say those learning opportunities for younger generations. So it's not always having to go through those pitfalls. Not saying because we don't want to build, let's say, younger generations up, but it's that whole thing of how do we get farther by understanding, or kind of like making sure that that blueprint is laid out.
CK, we have about 5 more minutes left, CK.
Okay. Well, what I think in the 5 minutes that we should do is to give some closing thoughts on this and incorporate, some of the questions I think that Dr. Knight has had, some great questions, has had for the rest of us on the line, pretty much with lawyers, Santita commenting on this. Starting with Daryl Jones.
Yeah, Dr. Knight, thank you for those questions and for the inquiry, because it's very real for young attorneys that are just coming out, and how we try to let them learn from our experiences. I can recall when I first started practicing, I came out of another black solo practitioner's firm, and pretty well regarded in the Baltimore area. And one of the things that he would tell me, and I always have related to other young black attorneys as well, he would refer to me as Young Buck. He said, Young Buck, let me tell you something. Go into that courtroom and you look at these other attorneys that are there from these huge firms. Remember, the same degree you have on your wall is the degree they have on their wall. You have more experience than most of them because you've been working with a solo practitioner, so you have all areas that you're dealing with, that you've dealt with. The same with the judge. The judge may look down upon you, but remember, the same degree that the judge has is the degree that you have. And you've got to take those experiences and bring them to the courtroom, and don't stop fighting, because your client is dependent upon you to be the mouthpiece, to do the research, to be prepared, and to present that best case. So whatever you need to do to win, that's what you do to win. Strategize the case, understand the case, and present your best case, and don't stop fighting. That's the advice that he gave me. That's the advice that I give other young black attorneys as well. There are going to be situations where they're going to think that you're the defendant. They're going to think that you're something other than what you are. Going to a jail, they think you're not there as the attorney, but there as the minister. Those types of situations. And you've got to overcome all of that and remember the bigger picture that you're after, which is to represent your client to the best of your ability. And that's the advice that's how I respond to those situations. That's the advice I give younger attorneys. So thank you very much for asking that question.
About 2.5 minutes, CK.
And Dr. Knight, I would echo everything that Daryl Jones has said. In terms of Fonnie Willis, I think that we should just pray for her and not forget that we have a very, very significant case, a case that involves the democracy and the foundation of this country going forward, and not lose sight of that. And that case is going to go forward, whether it would be an extraordinary act for Fonnie Willis to be removed from this case. It would be an extraordinary act for Nathan Ward to be removed from this case. I don't predict that will happen, but we have to keep our eye on the prize with that litigation that is going to go forward, whether they are on it or not, and I predict they're going to be on it. And so, Mark, do you have, and then Anastasia, you have any final closing comments?
Yeah, I think it's been excellent to hear everybody's opinion and to give feedback. I think one of the things that I like to keep in mind when I'm either teaching immigration law, acting as a hearing officer, or, the judge, so to speak, and also being a prosecutor for the federal government. I think one of the things I've kept in mind is that the only way things will change is if we change our education. Right now, a lot of Black people have been attacked with their history, in the sense that they're trying to ban history from being, American history from being shared and spread throughout the world. So because those things are happening, you're going to continue to find generations of people who are miseducated. And when they're miseducated, they approach you with that miseducation and that ignorance. And it's up to us to remember that I didn't become a lawyer first. I'm not the first Black lawyer. There are many that came before me. Just like there are many doctors that came before me. I think CK, you had mentioned earlier how doctors used to come to the country because, in fact, just like my father, white people didn't want to work with black doctors. So that they hired black doctors to work with black patients so that the white doctors can focus on the white patient.
Mhm.
So there's a number of different things that as a young person coming up, you just got to remember it's out there, it's there, and you shouldn't, I guess you could say, shy from it. You really should embrace it in the sense that this is your advantage because they're so ignorant and they're so miseducated. This is your opportunity in order to break through and win your case. Because if they're going to continue with that level of thinking and that level of bias, then it's something that you can use to your advantage.
Well,
So
you know
that's
what?
something that I would advise.
That's going to have to be it. We're going to wrap things up, everybody. I want you to spread the word. We are on AM950 Radio in Minneapolis-St. Paul, AM950Radio.com, and on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, everybody. Like and subscribe. And I'm really, really excited about the conversation that we had. And you know what? Even beyond your education, my father was taught that he was somebody by a woman who was unlettered. She couldn't read or write. His grandmother, Mrs. Matilda Burns. First thing we need to do is understand that God made us and God does not make junk. They don't teach you that in school. God bless you, everybody. I love you, everyone. You all want to say something to my audience, our audience, before we go?
I'm sorry. Cynthia, I just wanted to say, and I think we need to remember how blessed we are to have Santita Jackson.
Bless your heart.
What she does every single day. She doesn't just work Monday and Friday. She works every single day, providing a space for people's voices to be heard. And I wanted to remind everyone, the audience, of how blessed we are to have someone who's incredibly talented, who lends her expertise and her talent to the world so that we might be more like. So, Cynthia, I just had to say that.
Oh, my sister, thank you for that.
I wholeheartedly agree, CK, I do. And I think that I'm appreciative of the conversation today. Just with us looking at what's even going on, right? And it's crazy how things kind of relate. But you look at this high profile case, you look at what happened, to Claudine Gray, up at Harvard. And it's like, there's that, I would say the shattering of the glass ceiling, right? Because issues with reputation come along with that and so many other challenges, that we work hard towards, that there has to be, let's say, more dialogue around these spaces. And so I even think, too, for our audience, which is very diverse, and especially how fitting during Black History Month, to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations and to be able to acknowledge, from all sides, that while we want to say that racism, discrimination, bias, whether that's gender, color, religion, sexuality does not happen, it's still happening. And I think as long as we can have the conversation, not submerge ourselves in, a just culture or group think, but being able to agree to disagree, that helps us all to grow.
Amen to that. Daryl Jones, anyone, Attorney Fancher, you all want to make some closing thoughts? Give us some closing thoughts?
No, I think the only thing I was going to add in response to the question about young people coming up is that my advice to them is to not cling too jealously to their credentials. Everybody's proud to become a lawyer and all of that, but if you start holding on to that credential your priority over other things that are more important, then you really start to have problems. And I think if they can remember that they are God's child first,
that's right.
That there are certain expectations that He has, and if they pursue trying to satisfy Him and using whatever knowledge or skills or credentials they've acquired to help them do that, then they'll be just fine, and they won't have any fears or concerns. If there are threats that are made to strip them of what it is that they've worked so hard for, then take it.
No kidding.
Just take it. Just
well spoken. One thing I wanted to mention, I echoed what Gerald Jones said. I was echoing what Mark Sanchez said on that issue as well. But the thing about that is a little perplexing sometimes when I mentor probably at this point over 100, students, lawyers, whatever, and basically anyone who comes my way who wants to be mentored, I will mentor them. And for the younger students, what I find, especially if they're working at Big Law and if they've gone to, really good schools, like traditionally good or Ivy League schools, law schools, and they might carry that with them. The sense of, I've gone to this school, I was at the top of my class. And I bring them back to reality because none of that matters at the end of the day when it comes to doing what I said, trial work. It's not, you can't carry Harvard and Yale and all of the schools and all those magnificent schools, all of the schools into the courtroom or into what you do. You have to do what you are trained to do and not tell everyone. I think it's always perplexing people are telling in a braggadocious way. That will get you in the door. It's not going to keep you in the door, and it's not going to make you a great trial lawyer. And I think it's important to also recognize some of our great warriors, trial warriors of all times, did not go to those schools and achieved way more than others. So we can't really get too hung up on what schools we went to and things of that nature. And I agree, you put God first. Put God first, just like we've been taught to do. But whoever you believe in, put that first. Because that is what will carry the day when you have these assault of challenges. And Fonnie Willis is the flavor of the month for being challenged and criticized. So is Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. So is Judge Tanya Chutkan. All three of these Black women who are standing in an incredibly important position to potentially prosecute or rule on issues related to the former president have been demonized, have been criticized. Their families are in jeopardy or at security risk because of them doing their job. That is not on accident. So if you are a young person watching this, make sure that you look at this the right way and not be critical, but appreciate what it took for there to be District Attorney Fonnie Willis. Her father who trained her, who we know, you all know this, he's a civil rights lawyer, and he was a Black Panther. Understand our history, understand the significance of Jesse Jackson, who pushed us and propelled us to be the best that we could be, looking at us and saying, you are somebody, don't let anyone tell you that you're not. That's what young people need to focus on, because when they are not prepared for that, when it happens, they fall to the ground, and then they look around and they don't know who to turn to, because they haven't been prepared, because they've been looking at other things for success. So it is not easy being Black in America today, but it ain't never been easy. But the great thing is you can succeed and do well. That's what I tell and would tell young people. And then I would tailor my comments to young Black women lawyers and young Black male lawyers. It's a different message that I give to each because the standards are slightly different. So I just think that, Santita, things have progressed, but things have not changed. I'm sure that what I say, what Mark says, what Daryl says, and what Anesthesia says to all of the lawyers that we talk to is probably very similar to what was said to us.
Well, you know what? I think that's why Mark's point about not putting your stock in someone else's system is the point. We put so much stock in our credentials and having gone to this school or having gone to a school. And the people, the bridges that got us across couldn't read. They couldn't write. But they knew something. They had something that we have yet to grasp. Something inside so strong. Their sense of God, their sense of right and wrong, their sense of somebodyness. Don't let these people train you out of that. Far too often that happens. We get these degrees and we lose our minds. That's not what we're supposed to do at all. At all. You gotta think differently. You gotta think differently. Number one, you need to think. You need to understand that God does not make junk. And they're not going to teach you that at school. That's why when I hear about us talking about, oh my goodness, they're pulling Black history out of schools. Well, should they teach a full history? Absolutely. But they teach his story, their own story. You need to tell your own children our story. Don't depend upon the people who oppressed you to tell your story. That's crazy. That's madness. Tell them about the people who couldn't read, who couldn't write, who greater than we are. We're so excited about these degrees and about these jobs and about these houses and cars. We have completely missed the point. Missed the point. We got to get back to it. And don't get up in a place and think that you are free, because you are not. Percy Sutton, one of the greatest figures in our history. Many of you may or may not know him. He was a Tuskegee Airman, one of the top businessmen of the last century. Who had his weight not been fettered by racism, he would have been Secretary of State easily. He would have been Mayor of New York easily. He'd been president of the borough of Manhattan, the most scandal-free administration possible. Couldn't get elected mayor, but that's okay. He kept on going and had the most successful FM radio station in America, WBLS. He said, if you ever think that you are in America and are not Black, wait until midnight any day, because you're going to get a reminder. You're going to get one. I'm not tragically Black. Blackness is not my problem. It might be a problem for you, but that's not my problem. No, you got a problem. Got a problem. And when I don't have a problem, people have a problem with me and with you. When I walk in there proudly, and when I walk in just being God's child. So come on, everybody. You're going to take your knocks and you just keep on going. Keep on going. Just be excellent. Be the best you're supposed to be. And as Mark said, use every obstacle as an opportunity to build your muscles. That's what it is. That's what God gave it to you. Otherwise, you'd be a hunk of coal. Coal needs pressure to become a diamond, and plenty of it. And it's got to be unrelenting and unbearable. But at the end of the process, you come out a rare jewel, a rare gem. And that is what has made our people great. The pressure. Not the discrimination, and the fact that we took it, CK and Mark and Anastasi and Daryl Jones, that we took it and said, you know what, I'm going to keep on going anyway, and I'm not going to let you pervert my spirit. I'm still going to love you. I'm not going to be made a fool. I'm not going to be made a fool by you, but I'm not going to let you soil my spirit now. I'm not going to let you do that. The joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me, and the world can't take it away. So you can have your job. You can disbar me. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to worry about that. I don't need to prove anything to white people. And you shouldn't feel that way either. I don't need to prove anything to a man. I don't need to prove anything. God made me complete, lacking in nothing. That's all. God's credentials are all the credentials I need. That's all you need. All you need. So take it and run with that. Don't you use the world as your measurement stick. You'll be disappointed every time, and you will not win because it's not designed for you. It's designed to work against you. Ask Bill Cosby. Ask Michael Jackson. They were at the top of the world. But they're a little big for their britches. Michael didn't just want to sing and dance for you. He wanted to own himself. He got taken out. Bill Cosby said, I have saved this network. You know what? I'm gonna pull a group together and buy it. He's not had a peaceful day since. You can just keep on going down the line. Oh, he's got personal problems. Everybody's got personal problems. Either they exist in your head or you have manifested them. Stop it. Ain't nobody perfect here. Everybody's got something. That's why I said at the beginning, CK, I said, okay, yeah, she went with him. They're in a war. And when you're in a war, end up falling in love and wait a minute, because this person's got my back because the world doesn't have it. Nathan Wade has her back while she's looking at sabotage on every side. I hope she's happy, and I hope she's protected, and I hope he is too. And I pray for his wife, his soon-to-be ex-wife. Whatever broken hearts that are there, I hope that they are healed. Let's just grow up, everybody. I'm sick of
You know,
this.
ironically, Santita, a lot of this information emanated, when another war is divorce. Divorce is war. That's what it is. And a lot of the information essentially came through the proceeding, right?
Yeah.
Certainly this is divorce proceeding. But I'm reminded of another great warrior in our state who found himself in a similar position, and that was Senator Raphael Warner.
Yes.
He was running for the Senate, his ex-wife, and again, many people intervened to manipulate the information. There was information that surfaced that he had, tried to run her over with his car and all this kind of stuff. And Cooler has presided and took over, and that was not something that ended up being detrimental to his campaign and to his chances of winning, in part because of how he chose to approach and process the information. And that's the same thing here. That is something classic that we see when everything else fails. Can't get you on your credentials, your qualifications, your ability to do things, and you're being very effective. Then go into the personal life. That always happens. And we are just reminded that is what's going to happen. Because the irony that former President Donald Trump is forming his lips to talk about someone, to talk about alleged impropriety involving a relationship. Really? I just leave it out there.
Girl, look, wait, let me tell you something. All these people, all have fallen short. How all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Everybody needs to shut up and be about the work. I'm so sick of everybody. I'm tired of them all, CK. Everybody. No one should form their lips to say anything about anybody if you really, really, really dig down. Because somewhere between your head and your heart, what did Jesus say? If you are without sin, if you thought about the sin, if you wanted this woman, if you had her, if you wanted her, if you thought about it, you in it. We're all in it. We've all been in love. We all have loved someone, maybe like someone we didn't need to like, whatever. Everybody, you've at least thought about making a mistake or a misstep. Next. The question is, what do you do in the next step? Do you recover? Do you say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that? Is that what you do?
Well, I think this. Just because Fonnie Willis came out and said, I have a relationship with her, it's out. So there, period. End of discussion.
And be done.
It's a good thing.
That's
It's
right.
a good thing now. So there didn't have to be any no mistake. It was bound to happen. But I think getting beyond it, they filed a response that was very appropriate and very strong. And that's what needed to happen. And I think the judge is a young judge, but I think he's a good enough judge. So see beyond it and keep it moving.
Look, that's what Marion Barry did. That's why I have so much respect for him. The only person Marion Barry hurt was himself. But he kept on going. He kept on living. I like that about Martha Stewart. She fell and got up and kept on. Just keep on going, y'all. That's it. And she shouldn't get off this case. Next. Done with that. Whew. Girl, don't get me started, CK. It's too early. It's too early, CK.
I agree with you all, but I wanted to go back a little bit to the immigration bill because I had a couple of things.
Okay, make that point because I got to run. I got a Zoom call.
And I do have to run. And Anastasia, I'm so sorry that I have to run because I didn't want to hear this. But I do have to run because I got another meeting. But thank you all. And Santita, much love to you.
Much love to you.
We'll catch up later.
Oh, absolutely. But your point, Anastasia?
Yeah, basically just 3 points. First of all, the immigration bill, has its flaws, but immigration reform is necessary.
Mhm.
Number two, on May 12th, Sunday, May 12th, 2024, I'm getting an award, and I invite your audience, especially in the Chicago area, to attend because of all the work that I've been doing in the Haitian community. It's sponsored by Operation SOS. And number three, most importantly, as president of the Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois, I wanted to announce that we are actually helping new arrivals. We've gotten a grant in order to do a pop-up clinic Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in order to assist those individuals who are here to apply for asylum as well as to get other types of legal documents prepared. So if anyone is interested in learning more, please reach out to HALA.illinois@gmail.com. If you know someone that needs that assistance, please reach out to us so we can try to forward the information to the right people.
Well, come back before the week is out so that you can say this when we're on the radio, okay?
Yeah, the pop-up begins February 13th.
No, I mean, and you have an opportunity, just call me and come back and share it, okay?
Okay, no problem. Thank you, everyone.
I want you to do that, and congratulations, Soror, on your award.
Thank you, Soror.
Yeah,
Yes, oh,
See you later.
that's right. This is another great Delta girl.
All right. Delta's in the house.
Oh,
yes.
come on now, what?
All right. You all have a great morning.
Love you all. Thank you, everybody. Love you.
How to Win 2024. So how's it looking in Vegas, Jen? It looks like Nikki Haley and Donald Trump are like on completely different planets.
It's super confusing, but I think that there are some things to learn from what happened yesterday, and then the Republican caucus is tomorrow. So the way I look at it is, if people in both parties here don't think that this is a competitive primary, right? So, but still, Biden doesn't have a lot to prove in Nevada. He won Nevada last time. Donald Trump is the one that hasn't been approved. Donald Trump is the one that needs to get his organizational skills up in Nevada. And so what happened yesterday, Democrats had a primary. More than 100,000 people turned out. Republicans had a primary where really 60,000 people turned out. None of these
You all put that in there.